Hi, it's Anne sharing with you today about spirit guides. And you may have had experiences with spirit guides. You may have been intrigued by spirit guides, wishing you could talk to a spirit guide. You may be afraid of spirit guides. There's a lot of different information out there about spirit guides, and I'm here to share with you my views after, gosh, I started when I was a child seeing spirit, but I started really studying clairvoyance and mediumship and energy healing and working with guides almost 2 decades ago. So I'm going to share my experience with you. First of all, I believe we are spirit. So I don't want to bypass that because a lot of people, they look at spirit guides as something so different from us. And they sort of put anybody that seems to be a spirit guide, what seems to be a spirit guide, on a pedestal. And got to remember that we are spirit. We're spirit and we have a body too. So we are rich. The fact that we have both. The spirit guides that are up there, they don't have bodies. So in some ways we have an advantage that they don't. We can manifest in the physical form, which they can't. So I say that just to sort of, because I'm all about personal empowerment, to remind you that it's not about making anybody better than you, even a spirit guide. Okay, so with that said, spirit guides have a perspective that we have often forgotten to have because we are in bodies. So because we're in bodies, we have emotions. We have physical things we need to take care of. Sometimes we get sick. Sometimes we lose people we love. Sometimes we get hurt. Everybody has these things happen. Nobody's immune. Just on a daily basis, and less dramatic level, we have to eat, we have to go to the bathroom, we have to sleep at night. Like, our bodies talk to us if we don't take care of them. Whereas spirit guides and spirits in general, and not all spirits are guides, we'll talk about that in a minute, but spirits don't have all that to worry about. They're free in a way that we're not, and they're limited because they don't have a body, but they have a perspective that's freer than ours because they're not bound by the day-to-day. I like to tell people, sometimes people say, well, Jesus came to me. Is that possible? I mean, why would Jesus pick me? And I say, well, Jesus, Buddha, whoever it is, some well-known guide, isn't limited to helping one person at a time. These guides are spirit in general. Spirit is multidimensional. Spirit knows no time and space. So Jesus can be helping you and millions of other people at the same time if he wants to. Same with Buddha or any other well-known guide, right? So we all have access, and it's important just to recognize that you can connect with these high-level guides. These high-level guides are coming to you as a reflection of you, the amazing spirit that you are. So with that said, they have a perspective that we don't, because they've had many bodies, they've had many lifetimes, they've had a lot of wisdom, and they're not bound by time and space. So I like to say, Jesus, for example, when people wonder, well, how can he help me and all these other people at the same time? I say, well, he doesn't have a job. It's not like he's got to go to work or school like we do, whereas my time is like I can only really help, at least in a one-on-one conversation, one person at a time. Whereas these videos, I can talk to many of you, which is cool. So, I think technology is getting closer and closer to spirit, which is interesting. I can make another video about that. I wrote a blog about that. But in terms of how to connect with your guides, so let me get back to that. So first of all, we're spirits. We have bodies. The next thing I want to say is not every spirit is a guide. So knowing that you're amazing and making yourself the authority of your life, no matter what any guide, even if it's Jesus, Buddha, or anybody you respect, no matter what they say, that's important. And then the next thing to know is spirits are just like people. Like if you walk down a city street, you're going to have all kinds of people coming by you. Maybe different people talking to you. Some are homeless people begging for money. Some are people that, maybe they want to compliment you on your outfit. Some are people that are trying to get through in lines. Sometimes it's somebody who gives you directions or asks you for, there's all different levels of people. And some people you run into on the street, you might think, wow, that was like an angel, somebody, whether it's as simple as opening the door for you when you really needed it, or whether it's like gave you an amazing piece of information that you needed, or kept you from getting lost. I remember once I was hiking in Hawaii, and where the lava flows into the ocean, and the thing is to do this at night. And we were doing it in the evening, and then it got dark and we lost our way, and there was a guy that got in front of us. He's like, follow me. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh my God, that was an angel. It didn't even seem like it was a person after the experience. So you'll run into people like that in real life, right? People that seem like angels and people that are just homeless people. Maybe they're screaming, maybe they're violent, and you want to get away from them. So spirits in the sky are just like that. So when you open yourself to speak to a spirit guide, you have to understand that there's all different levels of beings that might want to talk to you. And if you're spiritually open, if you're somebody who's really interested in talking to spirit, your head is going to look like, if they were bugs flying, your head is going to look like a light bulb, and they'll go bzzz, you're it, right? They want to talk to you. And so discernment is important. And one way to guarantee that you're going to get a high level guide is, first of all, to be in a high vibration yourself. My husband's Buddhist. They have a term, to have a high life condition, right? To have a good attitude, to take good care of yourself, to think positive thoughts. And we all get stuck in difficult situations, but for the most part, if you can get yourself into a place of feeling good, and I'm sure you know of at least a few ways that help you feel good, a few things that help you feel good. Maybe it's getting a good night's sleep, or eating well, or talking to your friends when you need to talk to somebody. I mean, I'm telling you things you probably know, but it might seem like, well, what does this have to do with spirit guides? It has a lot to do with it, because if you're healthy and balanced and you ask for guidance, you're going to get somebody who's healthy and balanced to help you. And if you're in a space of real dark negativity, I would recommend not asking to have a spirit come to you in that moment. Okay, so let's say you're ready to connect with a guide. There's different ways to do it. So this is another misconception. Not only do some people think that any voice they hear must be a guide and must be better than their own wisdom. So that's not true. The other thing that people misunderstand is they think if you're talking to a guide, that means you're channeling, that you're automatically channeling if you're talking to a guide. That's not necessarily true either, which is nice, because when you're channeling, you, in a sense, you share your energetic space with the being, and where there's benefits to that, and there's time for that. It's nice not to have to do that every time. So the main way that you can talk to a spirit guide is simply have a conversation with the guide. So simply pretending the guide is there in front of you, a few feet in front of you, which oftentimes there is a guide just a few feet away from you. So you get into your childlike imagination, which is how all this spiritual stuff works, right? The more you can get playful and imaginative, the more you're able to see and access information and receive healing and all that. So get into a playful space and pretend the guide is there. And I have two favorite ways to do this I'll just share with you. One is to close your eyes, get into a meditative place, and imagine a big movie screen out in front of you. Or if you prefer, you can imagine a stage out in front of you, or a chair, a place for the guide to show up. So you close your eyes, you see a few feet out in front of you, the chair, the stage, the movie screen, whatever you like. And then, you say, okay, let's imagine the guide takes a seat or steps onto the stage, and you can push the, start button on your remote and see the guide show up on your screen, and just ask, before you start, perhaps ask for a guide to help you with a certain thing. And there's all different types of guides out there. So if you need healing, you'll get a healing guide. If you need teaching, if you need, wisdom and inspiration, you'll probably get a guide that's a teacher. If you need joy and playfulness, you'll get that type of guide. So put out an intention, close your eyes, picture the guide is out there on your stage screen in the chair, and just have a conversation. Make it up. You can't really make it up. You think you're making it up, but when you make it up, you're tuning in. You're getting into that space of playfulness where spirit will thrive and will work to support you. Okay, so having a conversation is one way, and I said there's two ways to do that. So one is to close your eyes and imagine the guide there. The second way, which is fun, I was a writer. I am a writer, but I studied writing in school. I have graduate studies in writing, so I like writing. And so what I would do is I would take out my journal and I would write a question in my journal. And then I would kind of get, same thing, into a meditative space and imagine my guide is giving me the answer to my question. And I would write the answer back to myself. Sometimes you can have fun with this. Use your dominant hand. For me, that's my right hand to write the question. So I'm writing as myself from my right hand. And then my left hand, which is not my usual hand, I would write as my guide the answer. And that kind of gets me out of my logical thinking mind. The other thing you can do is you can just take, two pieces of paper side by side, write your question on one, the guides on the other. You can use a different colored pen for your guide if that helps you get into the feeling of there's somebody different giving me this information. And you listen, and you can use your ability of clairaudience, which is your ability to hear clearly or hear spirit, to hear your guide. Okay, so that's one way, just having a conversation with your guide. Another way to connect with a guide, which I teach in my energy healing program. We're just wrapping that one up for this year. But just to share with you what my students have learned to do is just rubbing your hands together. And imagine your guide just plugs into your hand chakras. We have little mini energy centers called chakras in our hands. And the guide can plug in, and then if I were to walk up to you with my hands alive with, energy healing and my guide connecting, I would let my guide lead the way, and I would say, oh, there's something in your heart chakra, and I would pull it out, and it looks like I'm conducting. If you ever see me on Skype, I work on Skype and on the phone mainly now, so that's one way to do it. Use your guides to connect through your hands, and you can do it distance. You don't have to see the person. My students have been doing it by teleclass, and they're all getting great experiences. So that's another way, and then you consciously disconnect from the guide when you're done. So again, you're not channeling, but you are bringing a little more your guide's energy in, because this guides your hands. Your hands are important for your healing abilities. They're connected to your heart, and so your healing energy moves through your hands, and it's nice to have a guide just kind of guiding that process and assisting you. And again, you'd always choose a high-level guide to begin with. So it feels good, and then you say goodbye. And I like to say, when you're done, send your guide off to the psychic spa, or let them go and take a nap or whatever they need to do, and be playful with it, right? The third way to connect with guides is channeling. So I'm going from sort of the least amount of intertwinement, so to speak, from just having a conversation to a little more connection, a little more commingling of your energy healing through the hands. The third way being channeling is where you do consciously step out of your body, and a lot of us do this unconsciously. Everybody does this all day long unconsciously, but when I teach you to do it consciously. So you consciously take your awareness above your head, a few feet above your body, and then you imagine a high-level guide can step in right to here, this crown chakra, top of your head. There's an energy center, which is where we connect to both our higher self and the universe, the cosmos, God, goddess, all that is, the divine source, however you see that. So this is a great portal for a spirit to connect. And there's different levels within channeling. You can bring a guide just to your crown chakra, or you can bring the guide into your head, to your throat, or even lower down into your body. I prefer when I channel a guide to keep it up in the higher chakras, because I don't want any being to take over. I like to remain somewhat conscious, and in fact I don't even take them as far down as my throat, whereas some guides or some channels you'll see will change their voice. They'll start channeling and they'll all of a sudden have an English accent. You're like, where did that come from? Well, they're bringing the guide all the way down to the throat, and so the voice does change. But you don't have to do that to be channeling. You can simply bring them just to the crown chakra. And why would you do that? So the benefit to that is it's a vibrational shift for you, the channel. So when you consciously step out and allow this high vibration guide to step in and channel through you, it allows you to shift your vibration and to match the vibration of that guide. It allows you to receive a vibrational healing at a level that's different from just an energy healing through the hands, or it's different from just having a conversation. So always important to choose a high-level guide, and choose a guide that you feel personally is supportive to you, and then be conscious about what you're doing. Most of us aren't conscious about what we're doing, and most of us turn out okay because we have positive intentions. If you're watching this, I trust that you probably have a positive intention for your life, and yet I just ask you to bring even more consciousness to it, because the more consciousness we bring, the better the result we're going to get. So I invite you, if you're curious about more, to check out my programs coming up. They start this week, and if you're watching this after April 2015, I do offer programs throughout the year, so you can go to floweringssoul.com/awaken your intuition. And if you're watching this as it's being released, April 2015, I have Meditation 101 and Awaken Your Mediumship that are starting this Wednesday, April 22nd. So feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to speak with anyone curious about taking the classes, and feel free to share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye.